Hey there folks, and welcome back to the Dammâseq Campaign. I have to apologize about the state of my voice. For some reason this morning I woke up and my voice is just not where it needs to be. Not too much I can do about that, we just have to proceed here. I do have some coffee here to help wake me up. That probably won't help my throat, but it is what it is. Now, last episode we were entering into a bit of a cold war with our northern neighbor Ebla, who we were trying to do some subterfuge with their governor of Kadesh named Adamu. We went ahead and inspired disloyalty, but then discovered that we can't entice him, making him give us the remainder of the Orontes source province that Ebla currently controls, including the very strategically important fort of Charbon. But while we discovered this, we did end up waiting to see what happened with the Kadesh rebellion, which did trigger at the very end of the last episode. Kadesh is not going to survive for a super long time. These guys don't have the numbers to even survive against Ebla's goofy little tribal vassal friends, Hermesh and Sarakib. These guys by themselves could probably beat the Kadesh rebellion. But of course, Ebla also brings in their regular client state Ugarit, who has a relatively powerful sort of swing army in the area. Because I could beat Ugarit one-on-one, I could probably beat Ebla one-on-one, but I can't beat Ebla and Ugarit one-on-two. So Ugarit is the swing army of the Ebla situation. And of course, let's not forget Ebla themselves do have a powerful core levy, even if their king is only a little guy at 8 years old. One marshal is really not that scary, and at this point, I don't think he's going to develop into a tactical genius type character with the way his stats have developed as he's grown up, but you never know. It can be kind of surprising how characters come of age and get a bunch of stats all of a sudden. Now, the bigger concern is that when he comes of age, he can get married, and he probably will get married right away, to a high martial character that gives him better national martial effects, because at the minute, the nation is suffering from his one martial for the national effects, and let's remind ourselves that that is manpower recovery speed and army morale recovery. So, essentially the situation is that Ebla is very vulnerable right now. Their rebellion in Kadesh obviously isn't helping, but even beyond that, all of their territories have downward loyalty trend, and actually their newer territories over in the Ugarit and Phoenicia regions have extremely bad loyalty problems. These places are almost for sure going to rebel in a couple of years. Now, in between episodes, I looked at the situation more broadly, very, very carefully, and came up with what I think is a pretty smart, safe, and effective plan to absolutely dismantle Ebla's hegemony over the northern part of sort of the broader Canaan area, you know, the Ebla region and whatnot, the sort of Syrian area. And here's how it goes. Step one is we do go ahead and try to become friends with that governor and entice him paying the 20 AE, which is painful. But what this does is it gives us control of the Charbon fort for free, which we then, the moment this is done, assuming that this action doesn't give us a truce with Ebla, which I don't think it will, I guess technically it's possible that the game forces that to happen and you just don't notice, but it doesn't say that in the tooltip, and I don't remember seeing that when I looked on the wiki. So assuming that that doesn't happen, we control the fort at Charbon, and the reason we're spending 20 AE on just 4 kind of bad tiles and this one fort is because the fort at Charbon is the gateway to all of Ebla, and I'm not kidding about that. Let's count together the number of unfortified, sackable cities are going to be in Ebla's control. Again, we're assuming that at this point that Kadesh is re-seized by Ebla, so there's Kadesh, and that's also provincial capital. Over here, Akari is another one. Irkata is another one that's a provincial capital. Arwada can be reached, that's a provincial capital. And then if we were to come down here, by the way, I guess we can't reach anything down there. There's nothing down there anyways. Over here, though, Harbija is a provincial capital as well. Aliyat is also reachable. Kizhel is also a provincial capital. Tunanapa is a provincial capital. Samalil is a provincial capital. Yafat is a provincial capital. Then we can also sack places like Talbisha, and we might be able to even reach places like Arada and Halab. Halab is a provincial capital. Now, there are a number of forts scattered around Ebla, but the fort coverage is very shoddy. Ebla has not been prioritizing the fort coverage whatsoever. And once we control Charbon, think about this for a minute here. We can freely move into this area. There actually aren't any forts at all in their Ugarit area holdings by the water, so we can sack all this with impunity. We can also, if we think about where the fort coverage will be once we're at war, There's a narrow passageway where my mouse is, where we can move through here. Sure, we have to enter into fort coverage to do a sack, but then we have to back out. But once we control these provincial capitals, the nearby fort only prevents us from taking it in a peace deal. It doesn't necessarily undo the occupation of the province. And so we can actually get a lot of war score very, very fast by doing these occupations, and if our king is the one standing on the tile when the occupation concludes on the city tile, we get the sack as a nation and it doesn't go to the mercenaries, because we will be using mercenaries in this plan. And we either sort of chance it with a single mercenary company led by Hannibal, with the 12 marshal. This more than meets any marshal challenge we may have, and numbers-wise, with mercenary support, our cohort probably can beat Ebla's army one-on-one. I'm not 100% sure about that. But what we could also do is hire 2 mercenary companies, including Hannibal, because we are allowed as a regional power to have a second mercenary company. And I think what we do is we commit fully to this plan of trying to break down Ebla. Now, Ebla is already breaking down on its own, so you may be asking, what's the point of getting involved like this? Well, then we get to the point of this war, because now we've established that the war is possible to do, and that's the first question. Can the war be done successfully? I think yes. The second question is, what's the goal of the war? Because obviously we don't necessarily want to conquer all of Ebla right this second. That's beyond the scope of what we can really pull off here, especially having just paid the 20 AE in this plan to get the fort at Charbon. Now the reason for this is, here's what I want in the war. Since at this point I will already control the rest of Varante's source, I want to annex Kadesh, as this gives me control of this passageway between the 2 sides of the mountain passage. The mountains, I should say. And what this means is that Ebla will no longer be able to reach their holdings in Ugarit and Phoenicia, which are about to rebel in a couple of years. They won't be able to respond to these rebellions, and these rebellions will be relatively free to just build up ticking war score, unless Ebla gets military access through other people. I'm not going to give them military access, obviously. So this further damages Ebla's control in these regions and deprives them of those positions. But it goes deeper than that. So I don't actually want to take any more territory except for Kadesh. I don't want to enter into the Ugarit region at all, and there's no reason for me to somehow get territory in Phoenicia from this, so we just take the Kadesh province and leave it at that. I don't really want to expand my flank with Ebla. This just gives us more area to build more of a fort network to protect myself from Ebla for future wars when I do aim for conquest. But the other thing I do in this peace deal is I break down Ebla's diplomatic relationship with Ugarit, Sarikib, and Hermesh. Now, I don't think that Ugarit, Sarikib, and Hermesh are going to break away from Ebla on their own with any reliability, even though the AI of these nations should detect that Ebla is a sinking ship and jump. I don't trust the AI to ever do anything in this game that you need them to do at any given time. So we have to force the issue ourselves, and as part of the peace deal, we can actually require Ebla to break their overlordship of Ugarit specifically, and to a lesser extent, Sarikib and Hermesh. The main reason, of course, being that Ugarit's swing army effect in the area, with its 137 population and the cohorts they raise, will no longer play a role in future Ebla shenanigans. I think that, especially with Ebla losing their holdings over here to Rebellion, around the time of our war, or maybe a little after, Ebla's influence over this area and influence over Ugarit may be at an end. Ultimately, we do eventually want to fight Ugarit ourselves, of course. All of this will belong to Aram in the future, or Canaan later on. But for now, Ugarit can be a bit of a enemy of my enemy type arrangement. Now we can also, and this is one that I'm not as sure about, but it is possible to do in this game as far as I know, we can force Ebla to release nations that they previously conquered. And I don't know exactly which nations Ebla is allowed to release. I don't think there's a way in the game to check before you have a war going. You can open up the peace deal. What I want to do is force Ebla to release especially nations that control territory where Eblaite population lives. So on top of splitting apart Ebla's nation into having these exclaves, and then they're going to rebel on their own, on top of forcing Ebla to lose the armies of their vassals and just generally weaken their position by removing those sources of manpower and gold and whatnot, we can also actually strip Ebla of land through releasing nations, because again, I don't really want to take the land myself, and on top of the effect of sacking and ravaging the Ebla heartland with our armies, we can also then force those territories out of Ebla's Teg's control, which further weakens Ebla's situation. Now Ebla will still be left with a pretty powerful core even with all these actions. So what we want to do throughout this war is try our best to just damage the land as much as we can. But I think that I have a more cohesive plan here that goes beyond the ravage my enemy and hope that that works out plan that I had back in the Talantia campaign. I was actually rewatching the Talantia campaign, and mild spoilers for that campaign, I guess, from years ago, but when I attacked Rome in that campaign, I had a kind of similar idea of I'm going to come in here and ravage this nation that I'm scared of to kind of weaken them for the future. And in that situation, I didn't really consider these other ideas of let's break down their vassal relationships with people and force them to release nations. Like, I just thought I'm just going to damage them and get white peace. This plan still has the damaging Ebla and sacking them and taking their money, but also diplomatically breaks down their hegemony in the area and possibly invites rising powers to challenge them, such as, for example, Ugarit, or people like Ursu, who is handily beating Alalak, or, for example, the major power of Mari. They are the, I think, first major power in this area of the map, so definitely these guys may come in. Not that I'm necessarily comfortable with Mari's power, but we should know that they are sort of nearby. Now, another question is, can I get any allies for this war? And I don't think my strategy relies on allies at all, which is good, because that's always a bad strategy that needs the AI to do stuff. One thing we can do is see if Amar will be our ally. Amar is currently the overlord of Arpada. Arpada is their client state, so Arpada joins them in war. I don't know if that means that they join them when Amar themselves joins their ally, such as myself, if I were to ally with them. But if Amar were to join, then they'd have to actually agree to do it, which I'm not sure they would, because they're only a local power, whereas Ebla is a regional power. If they were to join, they would handily distract the Hermesh and Sarakib cohorts that are going to raise around here, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, all of this is to say, step one of this entire plan is to befriend the governor of Kadesh. So let's go ahead and get this thing going here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to make friends with Adamu Amasis, and we shall see if we succeed. If we aren't able to become this guy's friend, because we're going to wait until 25 to do any of the actual declarations of war, then we can change our plans a little bit. We can still just power through the fort at Charbine with our Doom stack that we're going to assemble by 25, or did I say 24 earlier? By 825. But it would be much, much nicer to have the fort under control, because then we just are able to zoom right in and ignore the need for a siege. Being forced to siege Charbin gives the AI time to organize all their different forces together into one force, and I'm not sure that even with 2 mercenaries helping, I have the numbers to beat Ebla, Sarakib, Hermesh, and Ugarit all put together under a high martial leader, which they might have somewhere. We don't know, for example, I guess this guy's 3, and any of the tribal chiefs over in the tribal guys could have high martial. We have no way to check that from the screen here. So we're going to try and befriend this guy, but in the meantime, we're just going to keep taking it easy, basically. Our own nation, let's not forget, has its own problems. But I think things are largely under control, sort of. We're trying our best to keep things managed here. I could upgrade these, or I guess downgrade these to be harsh treatment. That might not be a terrible idea, just to try to get this under control. But that being said, let's see here. The big problem here is the culture group thing, because down here these guys are of, well, I guess the Kamoni are Canaanite culture, but like the Sama are Sinai Palestinian, as are the Galati. So, with that being noted, what am I doing here? I think that I think the Kaman. I think we can go ahead and safely switch Kaman over. Well, yeah, these guys are the same culture group, so let's try to actually switch them. They're not going to be decreasing that fast. Try to start working on Kaman. I think the other places that all have wrong culture group cultures, the Sinai Palestinians, we're going to just go ahead and switch them all to harsh treatment. Yeah, so now Rakat is under control. Our little section down here by the river is more or less under control. And then this is sort of under control. Yeah, I think this is fine. So we'll leave that at that. Right. And then on top of that, another consideration is Yabrudu, who aren't going to get involved in fighting me or Ebla on their own. Obviously, they're very isolated. We could ally with Yabrudu, but I don't think it makes sense to have them as an ally, as they don't really bring a lot of cohorts, and they just draw forces towards my core for no reason. Otherwise, they block them from coming through this route. So I think what we do as well is we temporarily, possibly for not temporarily, ally with... Actually, you know what we could do? Well, I think we wait... Well, okay. I think we wait, because there's no way for me to check to see if Amarr would join the war. I can't check that and then back out of the alliance and then re-ally them later. That's kind of a risk. So I think what we do is we wait to ally with Amarr until right before the Ebla War. Yeah, we can wait. So we just keep waiting, basically. Yeah, so that's a very long explanation for what's going to happen in the next couple of years. First, though, Incendiary Slave speaks in Carnium. A hot-headed slave with a talent for oration by the name of Esh Mauniatin has been stirring up his fellow bondsmen in the settlement of Carnium. The local authorities have so far managed to keep the situation under control, but the brazen fool continues to hold forth on the corruption and unfairness of the political system, with Ipterdagon receiving honorable mentions. The slave population of the entire province of Carnium has by now heard of his exploits, and the city elites and the slave owners are demanding immediate action to ensure the status quo is not disturbed further, and any rebellion is crushed before it can be allowed to ferment. Right, so we could kill a slave in Carnium. That's a Dammâseq slave, so that's not ideal, but I guess that's fine. Where is Carnium? Carnium's over here, yeah. Carnium's just... Actually, I think it's just about to re-enter loyalty, so that's good. This wouldn't help much. Get some popularity for Ipterdagon. Get less popularity, but what do we trade off here? If we don't kill a slave... I think of these options, I think I'd rather actually lose PI at the minute. Divide the group and deal with the leader. So that's fine. Reducing slave output there is not a huge deal, honestly. Yeah, so the benefits of power. So here we're going to start to try to seduce this guy. Or not seduce him. I guess that might be what we're doing. We're trying to befriend him. An outspoken critic of Adamu, Amasis has been seeking refuge in our country for some time. He is a man of no importance. Banished from his own land, he seeks alms and spreads vicious rumors of debauchery and corruption about the court of Adamu. This could be an excellent opportunity to get in his good books. I think it's probably worth doing every chance to get progress towards friendship. Friendship in this game is one of my least favorite systems because it's basically just a bunch of dice rolls with very little way to tip the scales beyond events like this, so... Yeah, 71 Tyranny is ridiculous, but this is where we are at the minute. Just gotta play it safe. Fortification in Machna is done. Good. That is a big deal before a war with Ebla. Yes, we'll also keep an eye on how the situation develops over time. Exotic gifts. How much money do I have? I have 439 gold. Okay. Wild beasts from the far corners of the earth make for eye-catching and exotic gifts. Various merchants throughout the region offer a wide range of creatures, both for the arena and private owners, from Scythian colts to Nubian leopards. And incidentally, if we have Scythian colts in this time period, that's really quite an exotic gift. The question is which impressive beast to send. So I think we want to go ahead and spend the big bucks. I guess my nation pays this, but 50 gold is only about less than 5 months, which is worth it to get Ebla destroyed, basically. So that is fine. We keep waiting. He's almost back down to 0, which is perfect timing, and we can befriend this guy. Everyone likes gold. Of all the ways to make friends, a gift is perhaps the oldest and simplest. The world of politics, wealth shared generously and unconditionally, has more influence than kind words or affection. How much is the friendship of Adamu Amasis worth? I think the state has deep pockets. I'm spending a lot of resources on this guy, but I really, really want this to work. Yeah. Painful, but we are not taking any chances here. The fort at Charbin is a game changer for our plan. So, it is worth paying all of this money and whatnot, and... Oh, here we go. Friendship with Adamu. Here we go. Yes! Alright, folks, we're doing it. Our efforts to encourage a friendship between Ipterdagon and Adamu have paid off, naturally. Now... Yes, we can do this right now. Now, something critical to note is we could wait to do this until right before the Ebla War, but Ibtar Dragon might actually die of old age, and he's friends with that guy, not my daughter, and also that other guy might also die of old age, because they're both in their 60s. So I think we should do this now, and I guess what we could do is potentially see if we can get Kadesh. I don't know where Ebla's armies are. I assume that they're, like, about to arrive here. I can't tell if this is being sieged or what's going on, but we would get a border with these guys, and we don't have a claim on them, but we could start getting a claim on them. Yeah, so if somehow we're able to secure Kadesh from this maneuver, that would be quite a come-up. But let's go ahead and take this action now. No turning back. This Cold War is about to heat up in a big way. So we're going to go ahead and entice Adamu Amasis to defect. We're going to pay 20 AE. We're at 0 now, so this is the best time to do this. Ebla is not pleased with us, obviously. This guy moves to our territory. Provinces adjacent with less than 50 loyalty governed by him are annexed, which I know for sure will mean the rest of Orontes Spring. It might also mean other places, but I don't think it does. If we get more, that's not necessarily bad, but I'm only assuming I'm going to get Orontes Spring from this. Ebla gets a claim on the transferred province, of course. There it is. We now control Charbin, which is a fort we're going to definitely keep. Now we have multiple layers of fort coverage before we get to our core. Ebla is furious at us, but they can't do anything. And now I think just to be even cheekier, we're going to see if we can get a claim on Kadesh. Oh, man, I wish that I'd timed this to be able to do a war council. I guess I'll get a war council in a few years, but I think it's worth, honestly, the 20 PI just to... Well, Am I being goofy here? I don't know where Ebla's armies are. I assume, because they're only fighting this rebellion, that their armies are around here. But they also just fought this rebellion that was a rebellion from Ugarit down here in Byblos. So they may have lowered their armies and aren't able to re-raise them right away. So maybe we can pull something off here. I think this is a very questionable move, but I don't really need to save a PI right now, so we can actually go for it. Alright, cool. So with that being done, I think what we do now, let's see here. Also, this guy did become the governor of Kadesh, so okay, I wasn't sure if that would happen. I don't want him to be the governor of Kadesh, so let's replace him. He's actually not that terrible, but he's not Dammâseq, so that's not going to fly. So this guy is about to discover why I have 71 tyranny. He thought he was getting a pretty good deal, but no, he is not, in fact, going to be in charge of this for very long. Who was the guy that I had? I think Milk Piles was my guy here before, so let's just reinstate him. Yeah. Alright. And then over here, let's switch this over to... I could do Borderlands for fort defense, but I don't really think that's necessary. Let me remind myself. Fort defense. Time it takes hostile army to siege. Also, I think I will go ahead and turn fort maintenance on. It's not worth like a ton more, but it's good just to have that running at this point as we get ready for war, so I'm not forgetting right before. Let's see here. I think, though, it is better just to get this under control, so let's switch this over to harsh treatment. Yeah, that's much more manageable. Also now control the Orontes source province aside from Hermel. That's fine. Alright, so we have our goofy Kadesh claim going. I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I think they're going to die before then, but in case we can get Kadesh like this, it's worth the 20 PI to sort of try that out. Now, another thing we could do is get our army raised and sort of set up at Charbin with the mercs present and have everyone at full morale, so that right after... I guess, no, we should keep waiting. We shouldn't rush things here. There's no reason to do this immediately. Also, Ebla might end up fighting somebody else before our war with them, so we should be able to take advantage of that if needed. Either way, let us continue, I think. So yeah, definitely a bit of a devious maneuver from Aram towards Ebla, but at this point, if they don't know what's coming, they're not paying very close attention. They should be watching the Dammâseq campaign, and they would know what my plan is. Alright, down here, yeah, this is pretty bad. Kumaду wants to buy my stuff. Kumadu is a very safe trade partner because they're my tribal vassals, so they're never gonna... they're not never gonna, like, not take my trade goods, but they're a reliable trade partner, as it were. The coming of the city of Faka, which is, let me remind myself, wait, what? Oh, they were building a city here? Oh, I didn't notice that. I don't want this to be a city. You know, actually, it's not the worst spot for a city in the universe, but yeah, that is... I was about to say, like, what is this place? But this is a city that they were in the middle of building. No. 76 tyranny. We're cooling it down now. No more tyranny. Everyone needs to calm down. By everyone, I mean myself, but... Any other surprise cities that they're building around here? I don't think so. I do have a building down here, though. Tribal, suddenly I'm going to sell that for some money. Ooh, I'm going to sell this as 2, actually. Yeah. Well, that's annoying, but it's not that big of a deal. And this means that Ebla wasted money on a city that I got when it was finished, which is kind of funny. Okay, yeah, Kadesh has been seized by Ebla, so they're going to go for Kirata soon. I don't think this is going to happen. One thing I'm not sure about, does canceling... So this might be a chance to, like, test this out. Does canceling this claim refund any PI? I don't think so, but just because I'm sure this claim won't end up mattering, I'm going to cancel it just to see. Okay, it does not. That's fine. Yeah, Kadesh is going to be killed by Ebla before we could have used the claim, so that's fine. Alright. Granary is rated in Arantes source. Pretty good, because we need some more loyalty up here. Let's see. I think I will trade 40 gold for this one. We'll just replace the stockpile ourselves. Perfectly fine. Yeah. Tribal proposition. Our tribal neighbor Kumidu has started investing a lot of their treasury into opening up the borders between our 2 nations. Hopefully this will prove beneficial for us as well, though their tribesmen are somewhat more unruly than we are used to. We should keep Kumidu in mind, as they can prove good friends in the future as well. Surely only good things can come from this. Let's hope this friendship is worth it. Hey, they gave us some gold, and we get a bonus with Kumidu opinion-wise, and we get a bonus in our territory in one of our mountain valleys. Alright. That's fine. This is now stable. This is just about stable. This is, yeah, these are trending towards stable. Peculating official. It's come to our attention that our trusted advisor Adonabal, my court philosopher, has been siphoning funds from the treasury. Okay, ooh, okay, we have some options here. So, we could gain 109 gold, but lose popularity and gain corruption, so we're not going to do that. We could just gain popularity and fire that guy. We could always just rehire him right away, or imprison him, get popularity, get a lot of gold, and get 3 tyranny. Oh man, I'm not trying to play like the highest tyranny game ever played by anybody, but 219 gold, and we can just release that guy and rehire him immediately, and we get more popularity. So the question is getting 3 tyranny worth basically 100 gold and 15 popularity? Yes, is the question. Also, this is the head of a family, so let's definitely not leave him in prison for any amount of time. Damn, this guy is still loyal? Wow, what a G. This guy is unfazed by being in prison. Alright, we're gonna release you. Release prisoner. And just rehire him immediately. Yeah. Back up to 62. Yeah, playing around with the family head was maybe a bit risky, but it is fine. Alright, so now we have a lot more gold. That's great. Let's see here. In fact, I think... I'm gonna... I think we keep waiting. No need to play around. Jaffa is fighting Tyr. Yeah, while I've been looking north in the south, Jaffa has been taking on Tyr, and then Petra has been taking on Moab, and they're both kind of locked in big struggles with each other. The choice of tools, favored material. This is a Bronze Age event, it looks like. For millennia, our ancestors have used tools made out of various stones, obsidian chief among them. The hard material has served them well, and serves us too. In recent years, however, we've encountered a new type of material other people use, metal. Most common is what they call copper, yet it is soft and can be bent by hand if thin enough. Nevertheless, copper has advantages too. It rarely breaks, and tools made from it are sharper. While we do not have any tradesmen that are currently able to mold the material into tools, we can learn from our neighbors if necessary. From farther abroad we have heard of yet another metal, even more incredible. People of all kinds singing its praises. Bronze! We now have a choice to make. Do we want to cling to the traditions of our ancestors preserving their wisdom and way of life, or do we embrace the rise of the new materials whose future is uncertain? So, we could get this for, let me think about how much time that is. So, let's see, 60 months is 5 years, so 600 months should be 50 years, right? I think that math checks out. For a long time, basically, we get National Unrest -1, which is actually kind of big. Monthly Ruler Pop Gain plus 0.10, and Loyalty of Characters plus 5. That's definitely a very tempting option. I'm wondering what the other one gives me, so let me see here. Or Research Points plus 10%, Monthly Save Change plus 0.02, and Maximum Research Efficiency. Ooh, okay, well, in terms of what I kind of want to do is to embrace the future, but these are big, big bonuses that go right to the heart of my current stability problems, which is unrest. And loyalty isn't bad either. Let me check really quick. Technology-wise, we don't really have a lot of research at the minute. We will later on, but getting more like research efficiency doesn't matter. We're not playing as like a super tall developed nation at the minute, so I'm going to say that Obsidian never failed us in the past. These new metals can come into our nation if they are found useful, but we're not going to push the issue. Let me check and see actually what effect this has, because the monthly tick will happen right after. Oh yeah, this is a big effect. Wow, that's big. That's big. Orange's source is actually completely stable now. Wow! We are Obsidian lovers down here in Aram. That's crazy. Okay, that was a good decision. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. These guys are fighting their little neighbor. Should be fine. Kadesh wants vegetables. I'm going to sell my vegetables to somebody other than Kadesh, such as these guys over here. Sounds fine. Isn't this the tag that starts in control of the city of Alicia? How did this happen, by the way? How did Lacarna... Okay, I'm not sure what happened over there, but someone got shredded. Absolutely brutal. We keep building up our manpower and whatnot. Okay, I assumed that Kadesh would lose by now. I'm wondering what's going on over here. Ebla certainly has the numbers to do the siege. I think they're just doing the siege and it's taking a long time. I don't want to regret canceling my Kadesh claim. That being said, we probably couldn't take over the siege from Ebla, so I'm assuming I didn't screw up there, though that'd be a really funny screw up, honestly. Just because of how unlikely it is. Honestly, I wonder if Tadmor would join us. They probably... The issue is now, in this mod, it seems... Oh, here's the Kadesh army. Yeah, Kadesh has only 3 cohorts with their 53 population, so... You know, it's not, you know, less than 3. I mean, that's obvious, but... it could be a smaller number, but 3 is okay. It's not going to do that great. I don't know what they're doing, by the way. They're just wandering around. Mysterious, for sure. Barbs keep dying off. Alright, here we go. Yeah, things are getting back under control. Yeah, there we go. Things are looking solid. Alright. I'm trying to decide if there's another... I wonder if Ursu would actually become my ally. They currently aren't open to it because of, well, because of those reasons there. But Amari would do it. I think we just keep waiting. I think on January 1st I'm going to pause and examine my nation a little bit. make sure that everything is where it needs to be, just because I haven't done that a ton. Okay, so up here things are progressing. So down here, let me just check and see. Pop info. Verify that assimilation is generally happening. If there's spots where it's not happening, it's not the end of the universe. So this one I'm saving my money, so I'm just verifying that we don't have like an entire province. Like this area over here is so distant, I don't expect slaves to be over there. But like generally there's assimilation happening across the board. Because this is, as far as I can tell, the only way I can check this on the province level, so just scrolling through, making sure that generally most places have assimilation going on. Seems to be the case. Yeah. I think we're looking good. One other thing we could do ahead of the Ebla War is actually change our idea from conscription to martial ethos. That might be a good idea, especially if we're at our manpower cap or closer to our manpower cap, as we can always switch between martial ethos and conscription based on the situation. Having more martial from that would be a big game changer, especially against Ebla's very high martial, or high morale, I mean, not martial. So, another thing I'm considering, but we will see what ends up happening there. Okay, yeah, these guys took this. That's what I thought would happen. So they're going to retake Kadesh just a minute now, which means we could go to war with them. Oh, there it is. Alright, cool. As I expected, things are still not great around here. It's still trending down very, very quickly. Right, that looks fine. Yeah, I think we're fine. Keep going. Your Broody wants to trade lives. I guess that's fine. I'll trade with your Broody. I think we just keep waiting. The question is it better to go to war with Ebla? I guess we'll see what ends up happening. Foreign flight. A curious Akudu man appeared upon our borders today, claiming asylum from his captors in Akudu. This is by Gutium, I guess. Akudu. It's around here somewhere. I don't know where Akudu is, but it's in this area somewhere. Gutium's up here, so okay, whatever. He additionally promises us rich land in his home country should we seek to exact vengeance on his behalf, the claim on the province of Akudu, or get popular. I'm not going to friggin' Gutium out of your mind. I've got other things to worry about at the minute, a little closer to home. Alright. I think once Amar finishes their war, I'll go ahead and get allied with them. There's a risk that they'll go to war with somebody else before the Ebla War. Ah, man, I really want to know what, come on. Get out of here. I'm just gonna pay these guys off. Yeah, you leave. I just want to know if Amar would join us. I think they might not, honestly. The AI in this mod seems completely against ever joining wars under any circumstance, unless it's the AI's friend. Then they'll do it, but, you know, that's just how it goes. Oh, actually, you know what? We lost our claim on Ebla from taking this, so let's definitely get that claim again. I totally forgot about that, so let's make sure that we have that claim set up. I guess what we could do, actually, is wait for the War Council, and then hope that we get a claim on Ebla from the War Council. Because the War Council is going to be in 2 years, or a bit less than 2 years. I think we chance it, because honestly, I think the War Council will probably target Ebla. I guess there are multiple other targets, but Ebla is such an obvious target for us, and they're also a regional power, so I think we see if we get the War Council. If we don't get the claim from the War Council, then we start fabricating then. If we do get the claim from the War Council, then we sort of strap up in 25 and get people going, and get our mercenaries set up and all that. So that's the plan. A loyal subject. Our ruler's efforts to influence In's Damu Milker made her well underway. In a jovial mood, In's Damu approached King Ipterdagon, suggesting that a formal declaration of his loyalty and commitment to the court would be a fine way of showing our appreciation. I think I want the 5 stability at the minute, to be honest. Yeah. Next time, perhaps. We're trending down a lot, but having really high stability right now is going to further help out our internal situation, so that's pretty good. Ooh, Ebla actually just annexed Hermesh. So Hermesh is wrong culture, but they're right culture group, so this won't add to Ebla's military power at all. In fact, I think Ebla may have... Did Ebla lose population? I'm not sure what happened with that, but... Okay, interesting. They now directly border Amar, which means Amar might be either more or less willing to join war. I'm not sure about that. This isn't that big of a deal, though. It doesn't change too much. Yeah, we go for the War Council. In case the War Council doesn't give us an Ebla claim, I'm not going to have my army raised with the mercs being fully paid, just eating away at our treasury. I can, even if I get the claim on Ebla from the War Council, I can just get my army going at that time. So I think that's the plan there. So that's the general timeline for the war. It's going to be... we're going to start preparing on 1st of January, 825, and kind of get going with that. Ebla would actually ally me, which is interesting, but I'm not trying to do another Zhongnu campaign type move. There's no reason to ally with Ebla when I can just do my plan that I've explained thoroughly in this episode to take them on. Yeah. Also, let's check and see here. Fissure Spring, it's 44 Dammâseq. I might switch Fissure Spring to Borderlands at this point. There are still a number of non-Dammâseq living around here, but we would get a lot of manpower from Fissure Springs, because this is one of our core areas of Dammâseq. 44 Dammâseq in Fissure Springs. We have 61 in Damascus Oasis. And then, let's see, anywhere else that has a lot. 29 down here, 40 over here in Saaru, 31 in Carnium, 31 down here. Yeah, Fissure Springs is, I think it's my largest area. Is there a better way to see this actually? Hold on. There must be a way to see the breakdown. Give me a tooltip, please. I can't see it. Yeah, I think Fissure Springs is our largest Dammâseq area. And Borderlands gives us more fort defense at Rauda for what that's worth. Let me check really quick and see. Pop info. Slave. This is a citizen. So I kind of want that, but that's fine. We do get a little bit, because Rauda's a colony. Rauda still will get assimilations, or at least a little bit by default. It won't be that much, but it will be some. Yeah, but all these places over here, they're not really assimilating these Aramaeans for whatever reason. I think it's fine to go ahead and switch Rauda, to be honest. So 34 per month of 4.1k total. $34 per month, 4.2k total. So we did see an improvement. I think that's fine. Yeah, I think we're fine. Every little bit of manpower helps, honestly. Turbulent priests. High Priest Melkart Piles Mashid has made it clear that the priesthood, that he can no longer tolerate Ipterdagon's godless impiety. Without the support of the priesthood, the people start to believe that Ipterdagon does not have the support of the gods, which would harm our legitimacy. Honestly, let him complain. We have upward legitimacy trend, so I don't really care. He can say whatever he wants. Prosperity. Ooh, okay. 6 stability would be huge. Or this is the whole nation of Ram. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Yep, that's like another 2 or 3 full treasury per month, so that's a big deal. Wow. 12.17, that's quite good. And that's with fort maintenance turned on as well. Okay, I think we keep waiting. Just a lot of waiting around, but ironically, our planned 7-year peacetime is actually sort of happening now in this 5-year peacetime. But, yeah. Also, Tyr was absolutely destroyed by Jaffa. Jaffa took their core territory from them. So Tyr is not long for this world. I'm not scared of Tyr anymore at this point. I do now border Jaffa, which we shouldn't overlook as a potential problem. Jaffa would almost be my ally. Jaffa is a good example of someone that I think I might ally just for my own protection. Although I don't think they'll declare war on me. As I've noted before, they have a shockingly small core population. They've not been assimilating anybody. So even if Jaffa declares war on me, by themselves, they actually don't stand a chance, and I think the AI looks at those numbers when it decides to declare war or not. I haven't looked at the code in a long time, so I don't remember how that works. But even though the Jaffa looks powerful, they're actually very, very weak. Also, I think the Egyptians have been fighting each other. Yeah, Wasat and Henan Nasut have been in conflict. It looks like Wasat's been expanding into Lower Egypt up here. Or Upper Egypt? Which one's which? I never remember, because it's like the opposite because of the way the Nile goes north. I don't remember how that works. I think Lower Egypt is the one that's more north, and then Upper Egypt is the one that's in the south, because it's like the Upper Nile, upstream or downstream. You know what I'm talking about. All of you know. And if you say that you don't, you're in denial. Oh god. Oh man, why does anyone watch my content? I don't know. The great mystery. Anyways, so yeah. So I think we have one more year to go. That's speed 3. That looks good. Administration-wise, everything's basically good. Rakat might even be ready to switch over to cultural assimilation. Because the thing is, as they demote like nobles and whatnot, that really helps out. Ranch's source is doing great. Yeah, these places down here are all in really, really good shape. I'm almost wondering if it might be worth switching Fisher Spring back over to cultural assimilation, because they do still have a little bit more to do, and the Borderlands bonus isn't really that big, honestly. Yeah, this is expensive, but I think I will switch back over. This wasn't the big boost to manpower I was kind of hoping I might get. We were not quite ready to start switching these things off of assimilation, but we're almost there, so let's not jump the gun here. Excellent conditions in Siri Bassani. Whether by happy coincidence, the blessings of someone, or just diligent management, for the past year, production in the settlement of Siri Bassani has far surpassed the predictions of local bureaucrats and administrators. While we could simply exploit these boons for short-term gain, some have suggested that this is an opportunity to study the organization of slaves in Siri Bassani, who by all accounts are unusually satisfied and productive bunch, and attempt to apply the lessons across the province of Siri Bassani. Alternatively, we could just simply allow whatever fortune Siri Bassani enjoys to run its natural course. So, 48 golds, that's about 3 or 4 months of income. The province of Siri Bassani gets a giant bonus to slaves. Let me remind myself, that's Saru. Siri Bassani is down here. This would help out with the loyalty a fair bit, and this is one of my closer to disloyal provinces. Slave output would also be worth quite a bit, especially with my tax bonus I currently have. Or I get I get more output and more happiness, and I get, so what's the... Oh, this is just in the location of Siri Bassani itself. Siri Bassani isn't I guess there are actually a large number of slaves that live here for some reason. I don't know why there are so many slaves here. I think the whole province getting it is definitely a much better option. Or the gold isn't necessarily a bad idea either. This is basically, 1/4 of my mercenary budget to buy the mercenaries, because I need 200 gold for the 2 mercenary forces. So we shouldn't overlook the value. This seems like not a great trade-off compared to this bonus, but Siri Bassani doesn't currently have loyalty problems, and the slave output won't be worth that much. Even though this is I guess this is for 10 years, so we shouldn't overlook that either. And we do lose some PI. We don't really need PI right now. I think we can probably get away with this. Yeah. I think it's better to do the long-term option, even right now, when we have a really clear short-term goal. Okay, Ursu just ended their war with Alalak, who became Ursu's client state. Ursu would still not join my alliance. Okay, well, that's too bad. Alalak's off the table. I could now go ahead and ally with Amar. I think let's wait a little bit longer. Let's wait until near the end of 824 to set up that alliance, because I don't think Amar will go to war. Actually, I guess they're at war right now. With who? With Tutul. Okay, Amar is off the table. This war is going to preoccupy them for 100 billion years. Tutul has this exclave over here around Yaharasa, but then Mari is in the way. Mari is kind of stretched octopus-like over here and cut off Tutul in half. So actually, I don't think there's really anybody that would join me against Ebla in the area. Maybe someone like Barat would want to retake this stuff up here, or I guess take it for the first time, but they're in a war. I also don't think that they're going to join in because they're too scared of Ebla. Really, I would need my best bet would be another regional power like Jaffa, or I guess Moab as well. These guys don't really bring a lot of forces. Jaffa would ally with me now, which is interesting. This alliance could be a double-edged sword because Jaffa could also take on Tyr again, although let's remember they have a truce with Tyr and with Samaria. So Jaffa, only other than those people, and these truces are until after my war with Ebla would start, so it wouldn't matter. Jaffa couldn't go to war again before that war. What Jaffa could do, though, is go to war with their other neighbor, Hatsarim, who they have a claim on, and they may prioritize, or even worse, with Moab, who borders me as well. Moab is isolated, and probably weaker than Jaffa. Almost for sure weaker than Jaffa, actually. Yeah, definitely kind of a tough call. That being said, I think Jaffa will still be open to allying with me in a few months, so I can probably safely wait on this. Although, there might... So there's two questions here. One, would Jaffa join my war with Ebla, which isn't a bad thing at all. Might be a bad thing. This guy could screw up my sacks. I'd have to think about that a bit more between episodes, but the other consideration is being Jaffa's ally a smart idea just to secure our south a fair bit, because Jaffa won't attack me if they're my ally, and actually nobody else will attack me if Jaffa's my ally. Honestly, I don't think anyone except for Jaffa would even attack me. Maybe Moab would, because these guys are also a regional power. But like Tyr definitely won't attack me now. They're too broken down and I'm too strong. Samaria is going to get killed by the barbs, so they're not going to attack me. Moab might attack me, but I think that they can look at the numbers and see what's going to happen. Honestly, I think Jaffa probably won't attack me either. So maybe it's not worth allying with Jaffa unless there's an exact purpose for them being in my war with Ebla. And Jaffa doesn't really bring a lot of forces, and they do bring a troublesome High Marshal leader who could, help out a little bit, but I have the mercs to have the High Marshal. This guy's just going to steal all my sieges, so I think we don't ally with Jaffa after all. It's an interesting idea, but doesn't really make sense for the Ebla war with our goals, so I think we just leave it as it is. Alright. I think I made the right call waiting for 825, because we're going to be able to have a nice little pool of manpower built up. We also are 2 research advancements away from getting Triumphal Coins, which I mentioned earlier not thinking I would need, but perhaps I might have benefited from that. At the minute, we're fine. We don't have a manpower problem at the minute. Also, in case I do get the claim from... Well, no, I keep waiting. I keep waiting. Yeah, I don't want to jump the gun, because if I don't get an Ebla claim from the War Council, I have to wait multiple years to get the claim through claim fabrication, so I shouldn't hire the mercs quite yet. Almost there, but just not quite yet. Also, Galad is going to actually rebel from us, given enough time. Can I see the amount of time before the rebellion actually happens? Does it say that somewhere? I thought it might say that somewhere. Sometimes a thing pops up that tells you how much time you have left. If I can do some quick math in my head, let me think about this. This is about 6 months per point. So what is that? About 7 or 8 years at this current trend. Things are always getting better down here, but in 7 or 8 years at the minute, Galad will rebel. I think we should do a cultural action with the Galadi. I think we've done that before, but I think we need to do another one. We could found a calling. That's not going to help out, though. This doesn't improve the loyalty that much, but it does improve, like, culture happiness, for example. And of these options, I think that... let me think. Right of Inheritance is probably the least damaging one. National Assistant Happiness across Iram for 3 years isn't that big of a deal. That's just research points and whatnot. And then we get 6% culture happiness for the Galadi, and also Galad gets 4 more points. So this is probably not needed. Like, I could ride the Lightning a little bit longer and let Galad trend into disloyalty further before doing this, but I think I want to just get this under control. I have so much stability over 50 right now. We have so much downward trends. Let's go back into upward trend with Right of Inheritance. Alright. There we go. And this should have an effect maybe next month. We should see it. This should make them a lot happier, and hopefully... I mean, it did improve the loyalty of the province, but it should improve the loyalty of the populations down here as well. So we'll see exactly what we get on the monthly tick. Did we get any effect from that? Maybe it's not going to take effect quite yet. We got the bonus from the loyalty, so whatever. Trade with Jaffa, I'll sell honey, that's fine. Whew, alright. So Amara would ally with me, but again, they're fighting Tutul. I don't want to get involved in this war. I think we just go in by ourselves with mercenaries. So it's not really by ourselves, but the days of relying on allies for anything is really behind me. I can't trust them. Bit of a quieter episode, but I think this is the calm before the storm. Assuming that our war council has some good rolls, we're going to have a big war with Ebla in the next episode. And that is a guarantee. Let's just speed up because we're just waiting for the 1st of January. I guess Ipsher will get to be involved in the Ebla war. I don't really want to wait until the succession. Also, Ipsher does bring slightly better marshal at the start, so that could be quite good. We shall see what ends up happening. Hopefully he survives long enough to see this war conclude. The way that I've planned it, this war shouldn't actually take a super long time. We have a really clear goal in mind. And without trying to conquer everything, we can even take a kind of partial peace deal. The main thing I care about, so the number 2, or the 2 number 1 goals of the Ebla war. Alright, perfect. The 2 number 1 goals, again, it's to conquer Kadesh for myself, and to break down Ebla's overlordship over Ugarit. That's the 2 most important things. Secondary goals include forcing them to release Sarakib, and forcing them to release other nations that they are able to release. I don't know for sure who Ebla can release, but I do know that forcing them to release Ugarit will completely change the dynamic up here. Without Ugarit, I do feel more comfortable just attacking Ebla normally with a conquest war in mind, and with my takeover of Kadesh, I'm going to split them apart from their holdings over here. They're not going to be able to respond to these rebellions well. We've talked about this earlier. Alright, let's call down our Omen. We're actually almost back down to 0 AE, incredibly, after all of that AE we got. So our AE loss with our super high tyranny, this is minus 0.30 AE change from our tyranny. So this is really helping us quite a bit, actually, with our AE. That's pretty funny. Just go for a Shara once again, no need to play around. And let's go ahead and summon the War Council. This is going to determine the course of the last war of Epdragon's life, most likely. Let's go for it. Okay, I'm already seeing that Ebla is an option, so let's read the lore here. All Dammâseq sleeps as the War Council drags well on into the night. Assemble their 3 brilliant Aramean minds, summoned to provide insight, each determined to convince us of the validity of their argument. And then we're going to run out of time, so I'm not going to read the rest of this. The point is that Milkyton wants us to go for Ebla, which I will go for. It's the province of Halpa, to be specific. And that province is where? Halpa. This one over here, interesting. So we may have to go over here just to get that war target, because now this is the war target. So we're going to be considering exactly how we're going to handle this in the next episode. Now that we have the claim, we can raise our army and get our mercenaries going and march to war against Ebla, and the fates will decide what happens from there. But thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Dammâseq Campaign, and I'll see you all next time.